Tonight from the UMB Champions Club, it's our annual broadcast from a special section of the ballpark. And it's game number one of a four-game series. It's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Philadelphia Phillies. And with the Mad Hungarian Al Raboski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome inside to the UMB Champions Club, and this is always a lot of fun for us.
It really is a great place to view a game, especially on a cool night like tonight. You can either go inside or outside. The food is spectacular. The bars are aplenty. That's Ricky's favorite. And we're going to see a good ball game today.
Now, we need to get the Cardinals going, though. The Cardinals have not been playing well here at home. They've lost 4 straight, 3 in a row, swept over the weekend, and they face a hot Philadelphia Phillies club.
Absolutely. Philadelphia says they're in a rebuilding phase, but they've won 6 in a row and 9 of the last 10. So maybe they're further along than some of the other guys trying to improve.
Let's take a look at our What's on Tap presented by Budweiser. It is tonight's starter, looking for his second win in a row and his first here at home. That's the ace, Adam Wainwright. Wainwright gets the call tonight for the Cardinals. That's a look at your Budweiser What's on Tap. It's the Cards, it's the Phils. It's next from the UMB Champions Club. Louis Cardinals as we welcome you back to the UMB Champions Club. Wainwright, a look at his Hyundai pitch arsenal. A key pitch for him, the fastball. Opponents hitting nearly 500 against that pitch. On the other side, Jeremy Hellickson gets the start, his 6th of the year for the Phillies. He's 2-1, very good on the road. A look at his Hyundai pitch arsenal. He's got a .96 ERA away from Citizens Bank Park. So it's Hellickson, it's Wainwright, it's the Cardinals and the Phillies from the UMB Champions Club when we come back. Champions Club. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. By Chevrolet. Visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealer for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. There is a live look down on the field of Cardinals first baseman Matt Adams, who is in the lineup tonight for St. Louis as the Phillies come to town. And Philadelphia has been red hot. They are 15-10. The Cardinals 12-13 and under the 500 mark. And along with Al Raboski, I'm Dan McLaughlin as we get you set for game 1 of this 4-game series. Here's a look at the Phillies lineup. Odubel Herrera hits from the left side. The center fielder, he'll bat leadoff, followed by the switch-hitting Freddie Galvis. Maikel Franco, outstanding young third baseman. The St. Louis and Ryan Howard. At catcher, it's Carlos Ruiz. Switch-hitting Cesar Hernandez at second base. David Lowe in left. The pitcher batting 8th. They've had great success with that. Jeremy Hellickson. And our old buddy Peter Borges is in right field. He'll bat 9th. Our BJC Healthcare difference maker, Al, is Adam Wainwright.
You can see what he's done against Philadelphia in the past. Good ERA, 2.57. And hopefully that little win that he got in Arizona will jumpstart Adam, and he can come and pick up his first victory at home and really truly be the leader of this pitching staff.
His numbers this year, 1-3, the high ERA over 7. As Al mentioned, last start coming off a win. 4 runs in 5 1/3 to beat the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Herrera right now, one of the keys, keep him off base. He's been walking a ton. He has stolen base potential if he gets on. Pete McCannon is saying that 2 years ago he was a Rule 5 selection, a middle infielder. They turned him into a center fielder, and they like him so much there, they're keeping Borges in right.
And the first pitch to Herrera is taken for a strike, and we are underway.
Herrera's seen a lot of pitches. Already has 23 walks on the season for the high on base percentage.
The curveball drops in for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Dan, I think that's one of the real keys, is Adam throwing more curveballs, getting away from maybe the cutter, getting underneath of that pretty flat pitch, but the fastball spotted well, and then that very good curveball.
0-2 pitch is taken in the dirt. Against that fastball, Al, opponents are hitting 457, and the curveball is just 171.
Right, and the cutter's like over 300 also. You threw a cutter right there, but if you throw it down in the zone when you're ahead, it's not going to hurt you. But it looked like it also had a little better bite, but it had been pretty flat, and a lot of pitches stay in the middle of the plate. Here's another cutter.
The 1-2 pitch. Tapped foul. He's still alive. I think what it tells you is with the fastball, it just comes down to location.
That's a lot of it. As we've seen Adam a couple times, you know, get through an inning or a couple innings and doing really fine, but then all of a sudden he'll have that one inning where everything flattens up, it's up and over the middle of the plate. That's what he's trying to eliminate. Curveball.
Good old Uncle Charlie. Here it comes, and it misses low and away. Against the Phillies, 10 career starts for Adam Wainwright. He's 5-2 with a 2.65 ERA.
This is where he really has to spot a fastball inside.
The 2-2 pitch. Popped foul and out of play down the left field line.
It was totally outside instead of being inside, but we also might say that this fastball velocity has been up a little bit. Not a bad pitch right there down and away. Yachty was calling for it in. That's one of the true things, like a guy like Herrera can just foul off those borderline pitches and keep the bat alive. Didn't want the fastball in, wants the cutter.
The 2-2. Ground ball. There is Adams. He'll take it himself for the first out. And there's one away. A look at the Cardinals defensively tonight with Matt Holliday in left field, Stephen Piscotty in center, Brandon Moss is in right. Carpenter, Diaz, Wong, and Adams along the infield, and Yadier Molina is behind the plate. Another start tonight for Matt Adams. Mike Matheny trying to get him on track, and it just comes with playing time.
One of the unfortunate things is, yes, he wants to start a game, but he's been so productive coming off the bench that I think Mike Matheny feels very comfortable when he's doing that.
There's the cutter. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And of course the Cardinal pinch hitters have been doing a phenomenal job this year. Now it'll be Moss coming off the bench late.
Here's a 1-1. And it's also a situation where Randall Grichuk is struggling, so he is out of the lineup. Stephen Piscotty takes over in center, so it opens up a spot for Brandon Moss.
Little mental, mechanical little hitch in his swing right now, but they're trying to work hard on that. But that's a nice thing, having more than just 8 good regular or position players. A juggling act every night.
Here's a 2-2, and the curveball is taken high. But you're getting to a point in the regular season where you got to find out if these guys can play every day at this level. 3-2 pitch. Chased a ball and a strikeout in the first of the night for Adam Wainwright. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks and the strikeout for Wainwright.
Or you get the ball up there, it's eye level, so people see it so well, they'll swing at it, and usually they're going to swing through it, or at best they pop it up in the infield or foul territory. This is a player, Dan.
And the Cardinals may be catching him at the right time. 4 for his last 26, and just 1 extra base hit in his last 7 games.
We saw him last year, and this is a bona fide. Franco is an outstanding player, brilliant defender also, great power. Last year he missed the tail end of the season with a fractured wrist, but they say he's healthy. He led all major leaguers in home runs in the spring with 9.
There's the cutter, slowly hit to the right side. Adams to Wainwright. And a 1-2-3 first inning for big number 50. We head to the bottom of the first, and there's no score. And Matt Carpenter, he'll lead it off for the Cardinals, followed by Stephen Piscotty, the start-in center, his second this year. Then left fielder Matt Holliday, Brandon Moss, Yadier Molina, Matt Adams, Aledmus Diaz, Colton Wong, and the pitcher batting ninth, that is Adam Wainwright. Jeremy Hellickson, a former Rookie of the Year with Tampa Bay, and he's off to a good start, especially on the road. Overall 2-1.
Well, you know, they brought him in, and Charlie Morton had a little veteran leadership here. They think they're hopefully catch a little fire in the bottle because he's a free agent at the end of the year. Hellickson has also won a Gold Glove, and he's never duplicated the numbers that he had in his rookie year. But right now, he's one of the leaders for Pete Mackanin.
Remember, Ryan Sandberg decided to resign his position as the manager of the Phillies late June of last year. Mackanin took over and did a nice job. So they lifted that interim tag, and he gets a 1-year deal with an option.
He's telling me that he really has been treated so well by Philadelphia. And remember, when they first gave him that, it was when they didn't have a general manager. And now they got a new general manager, and they've already extended him.
Here's an 0-1 pitch to Carpenter. Taken outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Couple of hits yesterday, and the average had 242 with 3 home runs and 17 RBIs. Just notice a fan walk right up to you during our telecast, Al, and show you a wonderful picture that you took with that fan, and I know you're enjoying it.
I love it over here.
I know you do. I'm not sure you like it in the middle of a pitch.
Well, it doesn't matter. You know,
you're just happy.
The pitcher is very important to some people.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Curveball, a nasty one there from Hellickson. So he strikes out Carpenter. Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers as we go around the horn. Lowe, Herrera, Borges in the outfield. Franco, Galvis, Hernandez, and Howard along the infield. And Carlos Ruiz, he's been around a long time behind the plate. Around the horn, brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers.
So many of the veterans have been removed from the roster, but Ruiz and Ryan Howard, the 2 old-timers that are still here.
A fastball and a strike to Stephen Piscotty.
There's Ryan Howard, St. Louis native. Phillies are very, very happy in his final year of his contract how well he's handling the clubhouse duties. You know, not being a distraction. Sometimes a veteran can be that for a young ball club, and he understands the situation, and I think these young guys will probably bring a little life to him also.
Look at that bird right in front of the mound. Talk about a good view. A chopper to third. Low throw, and the pick by Howard. There's 2 outs.
Now, the Phillies are not scoring many runs, but their pitching has been outstanding. They got pretty good defense, and they're just, you know, opportunistic. And like you said, once again, they've won 6 in a row. They swept the Nationals, and then they swept Cleveland 6 in a row, and they've won 9 of the last 10. And there's your pigeon.
Doesn't have a ticket, but a pretty good view.
Where's security when we need it?
And a fastball and a strike to Holiday. Batting .256, 3 home runs, and he's driven in 13. The 0-1 pitch. Hellickson was the Rookie of the Year back in 2011. He went 13-10 with Tampa Bay. Mark Trumbo finished second. Eric Hosmer of the Royals was third. You may remember in the National League, the Atlanta Braves had a 1-2 finish with Kimbrel and Freddie Freeman. Kimbrel, his rookie year, saved 46. And a Philly also was on the top 3 of the National League Rookie of the Year back in 2011. That was Vance Worley.
And wasn't that something like he's the second pitcher in 32 years to win the Rookie of the Year in the American League? The other one was Verlander.
The 2-1 pitch. Hit out of play by Holiday, and a cool night here at Busch Stadium.
Bob McClure, the pitching coach for the Phillies, recognizes one of the best in the game, and very simply, there you see him there with what, Colonel Cody mustache and a lefty, and he's done a really nice job of not over making people, but giving them some little key here or there.
The 2-2 is hit to Ryan Howard. He'll take it himself, steps on the bag, and a 1-2-3 for Jeremy Hellickson. 1 inning in the books from the UMB Champions Club, and there's no score. Champions Club for the games coming up August 8th, 9th, and 10th against the Reds. Those will be $99. And that special price only available tonight. Cardinals.com/TV to access those specially priced UMB Champions Club tickets. Kia in the driver's seat. And it's Ryan Howard, who loves coming back to St. Louis. His career against the Cardinals, 21 home runs in 64 games, and better than an RBI per game against St. Louis.
Lafayette High School. Very proud of Ryan.
There's the curveball at Busch Stadium. You break it down even further. He's hit .341 with 39 driven in. Most of the damage done right here.
It seems like so many, when you look at the career marks of Phillies hitters, Ryan Howard is right there in the top 2 or 3, chasing Michael Jack Schmidt just about in every category.
Here's a 1-1. Oh, it caught Molina, it looked like on the knee. Ryan Howard has had 25 at bats without a home run against Adam Wainwright, and the only stretch that has been longer is against Steven Strasburg, 26 at bats without a home run.
Yeah, I noticed that. No home runs. It seems like every time he faces a Cardinal pitcher, he gets at least one in this park.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Little hesitation here from Wainwright. That one caught Molina again.
Still trying to figure out how he missed that the second one. Adam, I think he realized that he needs to throw a few more curveballs, and so far so good. He's throwing it for strikes.
Here's a 1-2. Hit the other way, and it's well hit. Going back, Holiday to make the catch. 4 up, 4 down.
Take a look at this. Wacchiotti's got the hand, his bare hand exposed there, and so the foul ball comes up and nails him on the back of the hand. 8 gold gloves and 4 platinum gloves. I'm not going to tell him how to catch, but a lot of times you'll see that catcher with that hand behind their back protected.
It's amazing to me, more catchers don't get hurt.
And there it's behind the back.
And a fastball right down the middle to Carlos Ruiz.
And Dan, I think what we're talking about too is just how much of a beating their hands get over the course of the season. You catch a ball, with guys throwing 100 miles an hour, or these power sinkers at 95, and you catch it wrong in that glove, you pay for it.
1 ball, 1 strike. Hit down the right field line and out of play. Ruiz, pretty good numbers against Wainwright, 6 for 16 coming into play tonight. And he is one of those leftovers from that championship team.
He's hit .310 against the Cardinals. He's 37 now.
Two pitch. Curveball just missed. Wainwright, his pace at least early on, and he has not had to work from the stretch, but it's been a quicker pace tonight. 3-2. Tapped out to Adam Wainwright for the out. 5 up and 5 down. With 2 outs, it brings to the plate Cesar Hernandez. Remember, Chase Utley was hurt last year, and Hernandez got an extended look and impressed enough that he is your everyday second baseman for the Fightin' Phils.
And Hernandez is another switch hitter.
And a ground ball that's hit to short. A lead miss. Diaz puts it away. Good start for Wainwright. We move to the bottom of the second, and there's no score here from Busch Stadium. Is here. Brian McCann works in our truck. His lovely wife and son and daughter are here enjoying the UMB Champions Club. That's Audrey and Nathan. Let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Dan, Randall Grichuk trying to shake off an 0 for 20 streak, not in the lineup tonight. Last time Randall was scuffling earlier in the season, Mike Matheny gave him back-to-back nights off. Grichuk responded by going 6 for his next 14 with 2 homers and 2 RBIs and 2 doubles. Mike Matheny said before the game he's not sure how he'll handle Grichuk this time, adding, just because a couple of days worked the first time doesn't mean it'll work again. Mike said they'll keep an eye on Grichuk. If he pinch hits and looks like he's ready to break out, he'll be back in there. If he looks like he needs more time, he'll get it. Mike says a big issue for Randall is something you guys have talked about, pitch recognition, Dan.
And Jimmy, what about Randall and trying to handle the ups and downs of this? I know you've had a chance to visit with him.
You know, last time he worked on that slider machine, one that didn't calibrate properly, helped him with pitch recognition, what pitches to look for, what pitches to lay off. But he said he's going to work his way through it. He realizes he's a streaky player, Dan.
The shift was on for Moss and hits it right to Hernandez for the out. The Krispy Kreme dozen deal. If the Cardinals get 9 hits tonight, you're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow to receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $3.99. Stop by one of the 4 St. Louis area Krispy Kreme locations or the new stops in Bloomington or Springfield, Illinois for this sensational deal.
That's good. 9 runs.
Be nice. Here's Yadier Molina. Really has hit well at home to begin this season. .432 at Busch Stadium and .329 overall.
He's hit .327 against the Philadelphia Phillies, and he's 1 for 3 with a home run against Hellickson.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. Howard will give it a look, and it's out of play. Mike Matheny brought up a couple of interesting points. One was obvious to many of us, is that the strength in the hand for Yadier Molina is a lot better. And he also said the second point was that his body, this is the second year in which he shed all that weight. And he said he's done it for the right reasons, take pressure off the back and the knee, and just overall looks like a stronger player this season.
That's a good point, because when we saw him in spring training last year after he lost all that weight, it looked like it took him a while to gain his strength. But this year, we were concerned about the double surgeries on his left thumb in the offseason. And once he got permission to start swinging the bat, we didn't worry about that again. He's come out guns a-blazing.
Here's a 1-2 pitch.
To see that Ruiz just constantly putting the glove down and away. Trying to concentrate on that part of the plate.
The 2-2. Molina spoils it. Again, a pitch down and lined into the seats.
That time they wanted it in, and it was perfect down and away.
Hellickson is 6'1", 185 pounds, from Des Moines, Iowa. Signed a 1-year, $7 million deal to come to the Phillies. Spent time in Arizona. I mentioned he came up with Tampa Bay.
And trying to parlay maybe this 1 year into a big contract, free agent contract. But he also is going to assume a pretty good leadership role. They got a tough break with Charlie Morton. They signed him to be another veteran for these young starters, and they got some good ones.
Molina hits a ground ball to short, taken by Galvis. They get Molina by a step. Nice play.
The veteran starting pitcher Charlie Morton was off to a great start. They really felt like he was going to have a big year, and the other day bunting, he went going down to first base. It was described as a hamstring pull. Well, it's a little more than that. He pulled the muscle right off the bone. So he's out for the rest of the year.
Well, you think about the home run potentially in this game for the Cardinals. They've hit the third most in baseball with 35, and Hellickson has given up 4 home runs in 5 starts already. 2 outs, nobody on. Matt Adams showing bunt against the shift. Hellickson bare hands, and it's a base hit. Not quite the home run, but a base hit.
See, Jeremy Hazelbaker likes that. So does Adams, like hitting against Philadelphia. Hellickson got over there, got the ball. With his shift on, he's the only one on this left side of the infield that could have fielded the ball. He tried to barehand it, lost the grip, and it goes for a base hit. That's how you break the shift. And over the weekend, he had a big game where he drove in 3 runs with a ball hit to the left side and then a home run. A 2-run home run late in the ball game to left field.
Here's Aledmys Diaz, hitting .405 to start his year. Now you've had a chance to watch Diaz. What has impressed you the most?
Well, I'm really happy right now the way defensively it looks like he's settled down. Now the other aspect, and I think what we're talking about is the hitting, is how hard he hits the ball, the way it jumps off his bat, and the fact that he's one of the few that are not striking out very much.
Only 5 times this year.
And 2 of those have been in the last 2 games. So, I mean, he's really shown that he can make contact. He's got the speed that if he, can get ground balls, that he can speed out some of those. The home runs were a bit of a surprise also.
Fun to watch.
It definitely is fun to watch.
So 2 outs and a runner at first, and here's a 1-0 pitch. Johnny Peralta was on the field yesterday taking ground balls. That's good to see. He'll start swinging a bat by the end of this week if everything goes to plan.
I talked to Johnny today, and he's just itching to get back there, but you never know what might happen, and some guys change some positions when Johnny comes back.
1 ball, 1 strike. Well, I think we would say this. We wouldn't expect Diaz to stay at a 400 clip, but if he continues to progress defensively, if he continues to hit like he has and show promise, it's going to be some tough decisions for that man right there.
Well, remember in spring training, Mike Matheny had Diaz playing numerous infield positions. So maybe you just something to look forward to, and everybody better start swinging the bat.
Right.
There are going to be some stiff competition, and also some guys are going to get caught up in the numbers game when some of the guys start coming back off that DL, because nobody really deserves to go down.
One of those players too is Tommy Pham, and he was out running yesterday.
Right, he's getting closer.
Here's a 2-1 pitch to Diaz. Taken for a strike. Now the Cardinals said with Tommy Pham and his injury, they will be overly cautious about putting him back on the major league roster, that his extended rehab could go a little bit longer than maybe most, just because of the issue with the side, and also he hasn't swung a bat in a long time, so trying to get his timing back. And he is swinging now off a tee and against a machine, but still not the same as live action. 3-2 with 2 outs, so Adams off with his next pitch.
And the rule that you could take a guy and send him down on a rehab assignment to the minor leagues and let him play and get back in shape was done for the players. And when I played, you can see right here, they're working with him yesterday. That's good to see him running there, because that's part of his game speed. But there was 1 disabled list, and it was 21 days, and you had to be ready when you came off that disabled list.
Pitch in the dirt. The first walk issued by Jeremy Hellickson. And it brings in Colton Wong. The Cardinals, during this skid, they have scored only 6 runs the last 4 games. Over the weekend against Washington, they were 2 for 20 with runners in scoring position.
And Dan, it just follows suit when they have played against the better ball clubs, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Nationals. They have struggled to get even 2 runs a game. But against lesser clubs, sub 500 records. They're scoring about 8 runs a game. Phillies don't know that they're should be in that second category. They're 5 games over 500 right now, but they will be probably, you know, they make improvements over what they did last year, losing 99 games. They get the #1 pick in the country this year.
So 2 outs and 2 on for Colton Wong. Looks at a breaking ball for a strike. They've talked about with Colton Wong and to an extent Randall Grichuk, but especially Wong, trust your hands and let the ball get deeper. He's got very quick hands.
Good hitters do not fear being jammed. And that's kind of what you're talking about. You know, when you're struggling, you don't want to embarrass yourself getting jammed. But if you got the hands like both of those guys, Wong and Grichuk, they'll be quick enough. Just trust that their hands will get to that hitting zone.
0-1 pitch. We've seen Colton go the other way this weekend a couple of times as he picked up a base hit.
Off-speed pitch here. I think that's also important for him too, is get away from trying to jerk the ball, trying to hit it out of the ballpark, making up for lost time. Put the ball in play.
No balls and 2 strikes as Wong chops that foul. Colton is 1 for his last 12, but we have heard from those that are around the club they feel he's close. How close? We'll see in the next 4 days.
Wainwright did the job his last start, bases clearing triple. Will he get a shot in this one?
Oh-2 pitch to Wong. Chased a pitch up and he strikes out. The second strikeout for Jeremy Hellickson as the Cardinals strand 2. We head to the 3rd from the UMB Champions Club. Having some fun up here with this big crowd and staying warm. There's no score. Is brought to you by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. And get Major League coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. See that hug? That wasn't even staged. That's a live look inside the UMB Champions Club. And again, the special price available tonight for what should be some hot days here in St. Louis, August 8th, 9th, and 10th. Take it in the air-conditioned seating of the UMB Champions Club. Just visit cardinals.com/TV. 3 full-service bar areas. The indoor club lounge. They've got 30 flat-screen TVs and an all-inclusive buffet. Well, Adam Wainwright has looked sharp here early on. I think those 2 innings, Al, to me, the 2 best we've seen all year from Adam.
I agree. They've got a ton of left-handed batters in their lineup, or lefties and switch hitters, working from the first base side of the rubber, trying to get in farther.
There's that cutter that breaks the bat of David Lowe, who's batting .310 this year. The ERA coming into play tonight, 7.16, worst of his career through 5 starts. But you'd have to think, with the injury that he had, and he won't use it as an excuse, but it's reality, he's trying to maybe relearn some of the mechanics and get his body back to where it was, and just, you know, the routine of being a major league starter.
Well, and one thing you learn as you get older, you know, a lot of people think you got to back off. You got to work harder, and that's not what he's afraid of. Work, you know, we know that for sure. But I think maybe he'll find that maybe he needs a few more innings in spring training.
Not many of the starters went deep at all this spring, and that wasn't just with the Cardinals, but across the board. 2-2 the count.
I was amazed by that, Dan. You know, I mean, and Adam told me, he said a couple of years ago, I wanted to lead the league in with the Cactus League or spring training in innings pitched. And then he kind of realized, well, that's kind of dumb. But it almost seemed like there's a happy medium. You know, they figured like they're going to be in late October, so you got to conserve, but you got to win games in April.
There's that curveball and a good look at it from behind home plate. 3-2 the count on Lowe.
Curveball's had a lot more bite, and I think what Adam is finding now that he's getting over that front foot, so he's allowed to finish off his pitches and got a little more life on his pitches, whereas pulling down on the curveball or the last little flick to get movement on your fastball.
3-2 is hit out of play just below us here at the UMB Champions Club, which is situated down the left field line. And this used to be a bunch of individual suites. They knocked down the walls and made this a huge area at the ballpark that a lot of fans enjoy.
3-2 pitch, no free passes. Fastball in.
And he walked him. So a leadoff walk to David Lowe, and it brings in the pitcher, Hellickson.
It's really interesting to find out where pitchers place their foot on the rubber. You see Mike Leake here, ground ball pitcher. You know, he's on the first base side. Jaime, a left-hander, he's on the third base side. Martinez is in the middle. He doesn't know. He just wants his ball to move. And Adam over on the first base side. Now, a lot of times we talk about the real key for a pitcher is, can you pitch to your glove side? And so you see Adam is right-handed. In order to help him to get the ball down and away to a right-handed batter, you know, some people believe you put your foot on the first base side, and that gets you into more of a position to where you're throwing down and away to a right-hander or into a lefty.
This is the pitcher, Hellickson, squaring to bunt and pushes it foul. Now he's in the 8th spot in their lineup. They started this back on April 20th in an attempt to really jumpstart a stagnant offense. They put the pitcher batting 8th. It was the first time a Phillies pitcher had done that since 1979. That was done by Steve Carlton. And since they've done that, the Phillies have won 9 of 10 by having the pitcher bat 8th. So they're not going to change things up.
Yeah, Buchanan, the manager, was telling me he never really believed in batting the pitcher 8th. And yet he started realizing that, you know, I've got Peter Borges, like that second double leadoff guy. If I'm batting him 8th, you know, then my pitcher's kind of in the middle there. So he went ahead and went with the pitcher 8th and Borges 9th. And as you said, they've won 9 out of the last 10 games. And so he goes, I have to stick with it.
Here's a look at the former Cardinal Peter Borges on deck. And Larry Bowa next to Pete Buchanan. Larry's been around the game a long time.
Two contemporaries of mine right there. Know them both very well. Good baseball men.
0-2 the count. Hellickson does have 2 sacrifices this year, and he's 2 for 7 on the year. And a ground ball backhanded by Carpenter, and they do get the lead man.
Carpenter just reached as far as he could to snag that ball, and then, throw over there to get the lead man, keep the pitcher on the bases. And Wong does a good job of being a first baseman. See him stretch out there to help out the throw. Didn't have anything on the throw because he was way off balance and falling backwards. But they get the lead man, and now he'll clog up the bases for, the pitcher at first for Peter Borges.
A career .249 hitter at the ballpark here in St. Louis, and this year off to a slow start, batting just .171.
He told me he's already won a couple games with his glove, and prior to this year he had never played any other position in the outfield but center field. But they felt that Herrera, who was a converted second baseman playing center field, they're so comfortable with him right now, they didn't want to mess with his head. And so they leave Herrera out in center, and then we got Borges in right. He doesn't have a true right fielder's arm, but we know that his closing speed, the speed he has out there, and he's been able to catch everything.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. Catches the bottom of the strike zone. Because of that speed, the Cardinals saw that firsthand the last couple of years. Carpenter has to play in at third. And Borges is tough to double up. It would have to take a hard hit ball to get him into that ground ball double play. Curveball popped up. Molina will give it a look, and it's in the seats. Last time that Wainwright faced the Phillies was back in 2014. Late August of that season. Outside of Ruiz and Howard, it's a completely different team with the Phillies.
And they're really offensively challenged right now, but they've been winning with their pitching and defense.
As Borges lines it into the seats. Just to further your point, Al, they have scored 82 runs this year in their 25 games. That's an average of just over 3 a game. So it gives you an idea of just how well they have pitched this season. It's not been the offense, it's been the arms, and their bullpen has been magnificent here during this winning streak that they've had.
And they're using different guys every night too.
Here's a 1-2 curveball yanked into left field. Over to get it, Holiday, and it drops in for a base hit. Power Stats brought to you by Kubota. Hanging breaking ball, and Borges picks up the single to left. Franco and Howard tied with 5. Galvis with 3. Ruiz and Herrera rounding out the top 5 and home run leaders for the Phillies.
Yeah, when it's all said and done, those Howard and Franco will be, you like to think they will separate themselves from the other because they have legitimate power.
Be curious to see if there's a team out there in the stretch run that wants a bat like Ryan Howard coming off the bench. He finishes up his career with the Phillies. 2 on, and here's Herrera. Good breaking ball.
Over the offseason, there wasn't a team that was willing, but
and Pete Mackanin had a very frank conversation with Ryan Howard, saying you may not play every day. You may not play against lefties.
Yeah, he showed him, you're batting 130 or something like that against lefties for last year, and I can't do it. But he said Howard understood. Look at that swing.
It's a pretty good cutter right there.
He got, well, it was so good it spun Herrera. He went all the way around. Don't often see that.
Nope. Not at this level.
No, and he might be knocked down 20, 30 years ago for a swing like that.
Here's an 0-2. The curveball, and it's slapped the other way. Holiday won't get it. With the pitcher running from second to third, he's held up. So the bases will be loaded for Freddie Galvis. Hellickson had to make sure that that was not caught by Holiday.
Yeah, the pitcher out there, and remember, most of his time has been in the American League. Last year is with Arizona, but he wasn't going to be able to score on that ball. Last 2 hits been on curveballs. They kind of just hung up a little bit. That's what Adams been trying to avoid, is having a better bite, a finish to those off-speed pitches or even the fastball. Get a little life on it by being out over his front leg and finishing, just flicking the wrist a little bit.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Switch hitting Freddie Galvis looks at a ball. He struck out his first time up. Hitting just 167 with runners in scoring position. Hit out to right, and that's a fair ball. Cut off by Moss. 2 runs will score. And it's 2-0 Philadelphia. Galvis with RBIs 12 and 13 on the year. Three consecutive hits against Adam Wainwright.
And a walk before that, but see that ball, it's up, it's coming clear across the plate and everything else, and just really just a hitter. It's a good look at it.
Michael Franco, the third baseman, grounded out his first time to Matt Adams. The pitch taken low.
Mentioned that Franco last year, his season was interrupted with a fractured wrist, but in about 300 plus at bats, he had 14 home runs and 50 RBIs. So double that, and that's the kind of hitter they think he can be.
That's hit out to center field. Catch will be made by Piscotty. Quickly back into the infield. And it's 3-0 as Herrera scores. And the RBI for Franco, number 15.
Talked about even in his good first 2 innings, he's missing location a couple times. There you see Diotti wants it away, and it's just right in the middle of the plate, up a little bit, just saying hit me. Hit hard, but right at Piscotty out in center field, but the sac fly gives them an extra run. 3-0 now.
Here's Howard with the runner at first base. Check on Galvis, and he's back in safely. Howard lined out to left his first time up. And with this long third inning, the pitch count already at 50 for Adam Wainwright. And Howard lifts a fly ball into center. Late break by Piscotty, but he's there. The Phillies pick up the first runs in this contest. We're midway through 3-0. Phil's on top. Greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Clayton Kershaw yesterday against San Diego. Complete game shutout. Nolan Arenado might be the best player in the game today. Major League leading 11th home run against Arizona, and the Cubs currently leading the Pirates 6-2 in the 6th. Jason Hamill started with the best ERA in baseball, 0.75, and going against Garrett Cole, 4 2/3. We are at the UMB Champions Club, and once again, if you'd like to pick up those tickets for August 8th, 9th, or 10th, special price right now, only tonight, Cardinals.com/TV. And if you haven't taken in the Champions Club, we would say definitely do it.
Yeah, one of our favorite places. Early in the season, you need it sometimes. You got nights like tonight where a little cool, and then late in the season, maybe a little too hot.
Wainwright yanks it foul. As Al told you earlier, Adam Wainwright with a bases clearing triple in Arizona in his last start.
RBIs is more than some of his teammates.
It's Wainwright here, then Carpenter and Piscotty. 3-0 Phillies. I realize, Al, it is early, first week of May, but you see the Cubs winning. They already have a lead of 6 games. You know, by the end of May, you don't want to see double-figure deficit.
You know, there's sometimes you'll talk about a club and you'll say after 40 games, if they're playing 500, you're okay with it because they're still trying to find their identity. And that's okay when you don't have somebody that's playing at 750.
Right. 2-1 pitch. Wainwright out to left, and that ball is down past David Lowe. And Adam on his way to second base with an extra base hit. A leadoff double.
Toyota key to the game is pitch recognition. You know, the Cardinals are really having trouble with strikeouts. They got a 4-game losing streak going on, and during that time they've struck out 43 times. So many times it looks like hitters are getting ahead in the count, and then they are throwing pitches off the plate. Guys are not recognizing that off-speed pitch and swinging over the top or chasing pitches. So get back to swinging at strikes.
There's Carpenter, takes a ball down and in. Struck out on a curveball his first time up. Matt leads the club in walks with 17, but also he's racked up 24 strikeouts this year. This is one of the top RBI men in this lineup for the Cardinals, and it happens to be your leadoff man. The 1-0 pitch. Sounds so easy, doesn't it? Pitch recognition.
Oh, it does. And yeah, big league pitchers are out there trying to keep you from doing so, and you know, you just so many different elements. The most difficult thing in sports is to hit a round baseball thrown at high, you know, as high as triple digits with a round bat. Very difficult to center it.
The 2-0. 3-0. That fastball at 91. His fastball this year has been averaging 89.3. He's never had a year in which it averaged under 90 miles per hour.
Some loose bodies removed from the elbow, and you know, maybe he's feeling a little better now.
The next two, Carpenter, a 3-1 pitch. Taken low on a check swing, did not go. So Hellickson walks his second tonight. And the tying run will come to the plate.
Carving stations, you got the different grilling stations. Just a good time here. Salad bar and everything else. And of course, when we talk about food, guess who shows up?
The cat.
He can eat.
Don't put up with it, Jim. Here's Stephen Piscotty, rounded out to third, his first time up. And a curveball is taken way outside. And Ruiz is out to visit, maybe slow down his starter, Jeremy Hellickson.
Well, the worst thing you could do as a pitcher is when your teammates just give you a 3-run lead, you got to shut down the opposition. In this case, the Cardinals. And now he's got himself a little trouble with the double by Wainwright, a walk to leadoff man. And Piscotty has 15 RBIs.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Stephen Piscotty. That's the pitch that he was able to strike Long out on, that fastball up.
When you're keeping everything down and you know your off-speed pitches, your fastball down, and then late in the count with 2 strikes, you elevate it like that, you're going to get a lot of guys to chase it.
One and one to count. Leadoff double by Wainwright. The walk to Carpenter. The next to Piscotty. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That shot right there, that's how we're doing the play-by-play and analyzing this game. That's a look from the UMB Champions Club and our perspective. One thing it provides, you see all the ground that the outfielders have to cover from this perspective, and it's an awful lot. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Piscotty out to center. At the track, and a leaping catch made by Herrera. Wainwright not tagging up, and the runners back to first and second.
Missed opportunity there. Good thing that Carpenter didn't go past him. But on a ball like this, Waino, you see he's out there halfway, but you got to know that it's either going to be caught, it's going to be a home run. You see Carpenter, look what he does. He comes all the way over there and then he got to look to make sure that he knew where Wainwright was. But Adams should have been over at third base. If that ball goes off the wall, you know, he's still going to be able to advance, even if he's standing at second base.
And here is Holiday, grounded out to first. 0 for 1. I think we've seen the last 7 to 10 days Holiday looking more and more like Matt Holliday, driving the ball. He has 8 doubles on the year, 3 home runs, a triple, batting .256 at the start of play tonight.
He's too good of a hitter. You know, he's been in these situations. He knows what he wants to do. Good RBI men. They realize the pitcher's the one in trouble. You know, if you're inexperienced in RBI situations, you know, you do too much instead of letting the pitch come to you.
The 2-0. Little chopper towards third, out at second, the turn, and Holiday is safe. Wainwright back to the bag at third. I think Wainwright may have thought that the inning was over.
Well, the first thing he saw his life go in front of his face as Franco low bridged him. And they're questioning to see whether Holiday is out or safe on this one. Very close right there.
Inning is extended to Brandon Moss. That could be a key here with Holiday beating that out and a chance to tie it up here with one swing of the bat.
Yeah, it would have been a very disappointing an opportunity to get on the scoreboard, if not, have a big crooked number. But with Holiday hustling down the line, we give Moss a chance to tie it.
Let's take a look at Wainwright. He was running from second to third on that ground ball.
See, he had to go down here, and then he thinks the inning is over, and
whoop.
Just a split second.
So 2 outs and 2 on. Change up to Moss.
Watching Moss and BP today, it just seemed like a nice, easy swing, and the ball was just jumping off his bat. Until that hip is much better now, and he's got a foundation. He can drive the ball after the hip surgery before last year. He hit right into that shift. He hit the ball hard the first time up, but hit it right at the second baseman playing short right field.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Brandon Moss. And Moss hits a ground ball to Howard, handles it easily and steps on the bag. So a leadoff double by Wainwright, then the walk, and the Cardinals cannot cash in. We head to the fourth. Phillies on top. Tonight, Fox Sports Midwest, they have playoff rallies before every home game, like tomorrow night. Get to the game early, enjoy live music and prizes. Game 3, the Blues for Kids Foundation created Moose playoff beads. They can be yours for a $3 donation to Girls on the Run at the Fox Sports Midwest Rally tent before the game, or from volunteers inside the game. Get your own Brian Elliott Moose playoff beads Tuesday night. What a win for the Blues yesterday in overtime. David Backus picked up the game winner on his birthday.
Yeah, I saw that. Jamie Rivers, been conversing with him the last couple playoff games as he's doing the post game for Fox Sports Midwest.
Longtime NHL player.
Oh, yeah.
Defenseman that could really skate. They would move him up at times, and now he just skates on over to Ballpark Village for the post-game analysis. Here's Carlos Ruiz. Hit back to Wainwright his first time up, and a fastball and a strike. Well, you hope the Cardinals don't look back at the bottom of the third and see a huge missed opportunity in this game. So far, it's big. 0-2 the count.
Well, what's frustrating about it is, your pitcher gets you a leadoff double, and then Carpenter walks, so you got men on first and second. You're trailing by 3. You got starting to get into the heat of your batting order, and you just don't do it. You come up empty.
0-2 pitch inside. Phillies last year, as Al mentioned, 99 losses, 63 and 99. First time with that many losses since 1969. So they finished 5th in the National League East. There's the curveball out to left. It's a base hit. It was a curveball hit by Borges, Herrera, and now Ruiz, all for base hits.
There's a hump in it, and instead of just that good bite where it's attacking downward, it's just like a loop in there, and it becomes so much more hittable. And I think that's what Adam is trying to correct, is to be able to finish off those pitches where it does get the good extra movement that does avoid that round bat.
And Wainwright is getting ahead of hitters, and he's getting 2 strikes on them, but right now he's having an issue putting them away. Cesar Hernandez, switch hitting second baseman, hitting over 400 on the road. And a ground ball slowly hit towards second. Wong does not get the lead man.
Got a catcher running. I don't think he had a handle on it when he turned, and that's what you got to do. You've got to get that lead man, and if you don't get the grip you want or whatever, but then he had to get the batter out, putting another man in scoring position.
There's David Lowe. Started the rally in the third for the Phillies with a leadoff walk. Hit up the middle. Wainwright has the lead man out. Yes, Ruiz thrown out at third.
Nice play by Adam right there. Carpenter coming in, and so yes, he has a force play, but you can see how far off the bag he is. Now he's coming back, trying to catch the ball and find the runner at the same time. So that helps Adam out with his nice fielding play.
Here's Hellickson, and grounded into a fielder's choice. That was back in the third, and then scored a run. We're in the top of the fourth. 3-0 Phillies. Strike one.
Other times when maybe, hitting the pitcher 8 that backfires on you, but you still have to execute and make good pitches.
0-1 pitch. The cutter drops in for his strike. Not only moves against the righty away from him, but also a little dip. Some call it a slider. Some call the cutter a slider a cutter.
And I like so many sliders have become really slurves, and I like Timmy's definition, a poor man's slider. It doesn't have to move much, and good sliders don't move much.
Here's a 1-2. Curveball, and struck him out. The second of the night for Adam Wainwright. Coming up, Molina, Adams, and Diaz from Busch Stadium. broadcast from the UMB Champions Club. 3-0 Phillies. We check in with Jim Hayes.
Dan, Matt Adams 5 for 9 with a home run on the homestand. Dropped down a little bunt earlier tonight. He told me he feels like he's in a good place with his swing and has more confidence at the plate. Matt credits being more intense with his pregame routine. He says from taking ground balls to swing from the cage, he's now trying to replicate game speed, and he says it's helped. He says physically he feels great, and he says part of the credit goes to Pilates, helps with agility. We've heard a lot about the Cardinals and Pilates, but Adams told me he's a regular at the Pilates sessions and does it almost every day. Dan, he says Colton Wong, Kevin Segrist do it a lot also, but Big City is big on Pilates.
I love it. You know, Jim, we talked to Mike Matheny on the road trip, and he actually pulled Adams aside the other day and talked about being a professional, because he really enjoyed the way that he was going about not playing every day, but being a professional about it, didn't he?
He said to Matt, look, we know you're an everyday first baseman, but that's not the way it's shaken out here. So just keep grinding, keep waiting for your opportunities. And that's what Adams has done, and he's responded well, and he gets rewarded with a start tonight.
He is due up second for the Cardinals. We are at the UMB Champions Club. Cardinals.com/TV to get your tickets for that series in August. And a ground ball off the bat of Molina. Chops up the middle for a base hit. He's 1 for 2 tonight.
Almost looked like he hit that ball on the ground, as that ball had no chance to do anything but be on the ground. Watch how low this pitch is. And then it gets the big bounce over the pitcher's mound going into center field, as they couldn't catch that one. So Matt said done a nice job coming off the bench this year, showing that he can do that as young in his career.
So we had the bunt against the shift. Molina with maybe a half-foot lead. By the way, we're told with the tickets, those specially priced tickets, just head to Cardinals.com and choose those dates, which is August 8th, 9th, and 10th. It's not .com/TV. Just go to Cardinals.com and choose those dates, August 8th, August 9th, August 10th.
Get Cincy?
And you'll get those specially priced tickets for the UMB Champions Club. And a strike at the knees to Adams. So Cardinals.com, August 8th, 9th, and 10th. Here's a 1-1 pitch to Matt Adams, taken low and away. 2 balls and a strike. The Cardinals had a leadoff double by Wainwright in the 3rd. Then a walk to Carpenter. Piscotty hit one to the track and center. Runners did not tag up. Holiday hit into a fielder's choice. Moss grounded out. The threat was through. Let's see what the Cardinals can do with their leadoff man on again. A 2-1 pitch. Al was even scared up here in the Champions Club. You thought that was coming right to us.
It was 400 feet away from me, and I was scared. That's what I've been told.
Well, you were on the floor under the table, and I had to pick you back up.
Appreciate you protecting me.
The 2-2 pitch. I'm here for you, Al.
Thank you.
I protect you in the booth all the time, and nothing changes over here at the Champions Club.
Yeah, I'm going to remind you about that later on this summer.
Bud Selig's signature is still on my left hand from Milwaukee. Don't have a very good feeling with 2 of my fingers.
You didn't have the reflexes to get out of the way of it.
Easy, Al. 3-2 pitch to Matt Adams. Here it comes. Taken outside. Borderline pitch goes Adams' way. That's walk number 3. And again, the tying run comes to the plate. And this is Aledmys Diaz.
Yeah, you can do it a couple times to get away with it, but you're flirting with danger. Cardinals had a situation earlier. Had 2 men on in the second. They had like this, a base hit and a walk in the third. He got out of that, but we'll see if he can get out of this one.
Diaz walked his first time up. First pitch is popped up to the right side. Howard is over. It's playable, and he makes the catch. That's out number 1.
Colton Wong needs something here, just to get his confidence a little bit back. But this is kind of what you were talking about. See, with his average with runners in scoring position, that's what it is. You can improve upon that, but don't try and make up for their season's worth of missed opportunities with just one at bat. The pitcher has to come to you.
First pitch to Wong is foul. Colton still looking for his first extra base hit of the year.
Yeah, and that plays on your mind too.
Sure.
You know, you just didn't get the lead runner on the 1 ball. You strike out a pitch over your head. Try to do too much. You know, that pitch right there really wasn't the pitch that he wants to be swinging at either. It's too high for him.
So he struck out back in the second inning with runners at first and second. That's what he has here now with 1 out.
Doesn't help the Cardinals with Yachty at second base.
On the outside corner.
And then you feel like, you know, a pitch to me that looked really out of the strike zone gets called against you, and you feel like you're always hitting 0-2.
The pitch to Adams was a better pitch than that one. And Adams drew the walk on that 3-2. So he's in the hole. No balls, 2 strikes. On deck is the pitcher, Adam Wainwright. This is the 7th at bat for the Cardinals with a man in scoring position. And Wong strikes out. So Hellickson has struck out 3 Chevy Foxtrax as we go pitch by pitch.
Remember, he chased a high pitch, so now he gets another pitch that's top of the zone. That's not a good pitch for you. Then he gets a bad call. That pitch is definitely out of the strike zone. And then he swings at the off-speed pitch, goes over the top of it, another non-strike. But when you're fighting it, you always feel like you're hitting 0-2, and you end up doing too much.
It was 81, 79, 79. The speed of those pitches. So here's Wainwright, who doubled into left center back in the 3rd. First pitch to him. Taken inside. Adam is now 2 for 10 on the year.
Very good athlete. We both remember his first home run out in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
And I believe he picked up his first win in that game too.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. The breaking ball taken low, 2-0. Cardinals are trying to avoid their first 5-game losing skid since losing 7 in a row. That was in July of 2013. Always go back. It's such a long season, but in 06 the Cardinals had 2 losing skids of 7 and another one that was 8.
That was very unusual.
2 balls, no strikes. Chance here for Wainwright. Popped foul and out of play.
As well as how unusual it is for the Cardinals to get swept when they're playing at home.
I think when you look at this season right now, Al, the starters haven't been what we expected.
Agree.
And that's Wainwright and Leake. And then the defense with 24 errors. You know, you make some of the plays behind you. Those are they just catch up. at this level.
And 20 of those 24 are in the infield.
The 2-1 pitch inside to Adam Wainwright.
You know, Leake several times was victimized on double play balls that they weren't able to turn it. But I think one thing we could say is the infield defense is starting to tighten up a lot better. And I think that we'll be fine defensively over the long run. But starting pitching, and you know, you even talk about the offense. You know, we scored a ton of runs, but it's not against good ball clubs.
Here's a 3-1 pitch. Wainwright out to deep left field. Do it yourself. He has. 3-run homer, Adam Wainwright, and this game is tied.
Sometimes you got to do it yourself, don't you? And I don't know if you saw Danny, but when he went down the ceremonial line, at the end was Carlos Martinez with a glass of water. He said, "What do you want me to do?" And he said, "Go ahead," and threw it in his face. But Carlos did the right thing. He's, you know,
make sure, right?
Right, make sure. You know, he started pitching. You know, he didn't want to do something he didn't want to receive, but we got a tie ball game. 6 RBIs for Adam Wainwright as he hits his 7th career home run. I know it'll change, but he's actually been a better hitter than a pitcher this year. We want to see both equal because we know he's capable of doing it all pitching wise.
The 2-0 pitch to Carpenter. Let's go back to the home run for Adam Wainwright.
He just jumped on that ball and put a charge. That go with the upper deck. We can't see from our vantage point, but they all loved it. And what a pick-me-up for Colton Wong.
And the offense and this crowd.
Yes, and the announcers.
Yes, much needed. Just a bit high. 2 walks in the inning and 4 in the game for Jeremy Hellickson. He's walked Carpenter twice, and Matt now is up to 19 to lead the club.
Bob McClure, pitching coach, out to talk to him. Mike DeMuro is our home plate umpire, and I thought that was a semi-close pitch, but the 4th walk.
Well, the last 3 at bats for Wainwright, triple, double, and now the home run. Reminder, MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. That includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Runner at first, and it brings in Stephen Piscotty. Fly to deep center to the track back in the 3rd inning.
I think it's hard to believe that Piscotty is leading the ball club in strikeouts. You know.
That part of the strike zone has been inconsistent.
Right.
Outside to the lefties, in on the righties.
Got either. Good thing these umpires only have two choices, isn't it?
Here's a 0-1 pitch. Curveball misses in.
The reason I'm a little surprised at Scotty with the strikeouts is because you feel that he's a much more disciplined hitter.
The check on Carpenter, back in safely. Here's a 1-1. And Piscotty hits it high in the air out to center field. Herrera under it and makes the catch. 7th career home run for Adam Wainwright. This one a 3-run homer. Cricket Wireless, something to smile about. All smiles as it's a new game. We're tied up. Give me that water. 3-3. First pitch, Peter Borges trying to bunt. And a good play by Carpenter. So 1 pitch and 1 out, trying to bunt his way on.
Carpenter playing in, guarding against the bunt. You can see with Peter's great speed, it's always an option. And Cardinals, with him playing for the Redbirds the last 2 years, we knew that part of his game, and they were alert to it. See if Adam can have a real efficient inning, a 1-2-3 inning, and get his team back on offense.
So 1 out, and it brings in Herrera. Grounded out to first, also singled to left. 3-3 our score. And that pitch is a strike. Freddie Galvis is on deck as we play here in inning number 5, and there's a strike. Again, that outside portion of the plate.
I think those are real good pitchers' pitches, but getting ahead in the count hadn't been necessarily the problem. Putting them away has.
Oh, 0-2 the count, and the next from Adam Wainwright, the breaking ball, and it's hit out of play. Herrera was the one that singled on a curveball to left field, then was spun around on the cutter. Remember earlier in the game.
Well, you know, with Adam being ahead in the count here and throwing 3 pitches away from him, you know, he could afford to come in off the plate. See if you can get Herrera to jam himself.
There's the 0-2. There's the cutter. A check swing did not go.
Herrera was helping out the umpires with, don't you dare call me out on that. I didn't go around. Watch the finger wag.
Dikembe Mutombo reinvented as Herrera.
Or about, what, a third of him?
Maybe. Here's a 1-2.
You saw how, you know, Herrera's short, bent over a little bit, and elevated that pitch trying to get him to chase. His body came up, but his hands didn't come through with the swing.
2 balls and 2 strikes.
Didn't want the cutter, wants the curveball.
You see the reaction sometimes with Wainwright with these pitches. It's frustrating for him. He's not able to quite do what he wants.
Well, it's something that he could, you know, he never had to think about how to do it. You know, it just came so natural for him. Now back to the cutter.
And a fly ball lifted near the line and left. There's Holiday positioned perfectly for the out. You have to remind yourself that he is coming back from injury. Now, he did pitch at the end of the season coming out of the pen and was off to a great start as a starter beginning of last season. Tommy John in 2012 coming back. That April, it was tough. May, different. 2016, the Achilles, 1-3. In May, we'll find out, but goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Just, you know, finding yourself mechanically right after all that time away.
And you know, everybody remembers that he had pretty much a normal off season because he did come back on September 30th and pitch in relief and had 6 different relief appearances, but he's going 1 inning. And I think that the fact that probably going the 1 inning probably, you know, changes mechanics a little bit, protecting the Achilles. And then you really have to retrain your mind how to use your lower part of your legs and your leg drive. 6'7", you still got the tall and fall, but the legs are still important. And I think he's had trouble with the lower portion being in sync with his upper body and his arm dragging a little bit.
Molina sets up outside. The 1-2 is off his mask. I just wonder if Mike Matheny cringes every time he sees that, whether it's Molina or any catcher in the game. All the concussions that he sustained throughout the years and the issues that he had following his playing career.
He's got to. And then I know Mike, you know, how much he admires Yachty and realizes that, hey, a lot of my success is going to be because of Yachty.
The curveball, a swing and a miss. Ball gets away from Molina. He'll fire a strike to Matt Adams. And a 1-2-3 inning for Adam Wainwright. Coming up for the Cardinals, Holiday, Moss, Molina in a 3-3 game. the foul balls that hit off a catcher's mask. Here it is. This catches him square off the mask. And it was a number of those that led to concussions for Mike. And you can see Derek Lilliquist checking to make sure he's all right. Mike Matheny, hey, are you okay? That is of concern for any major league catcher. We've talked about it before, but the hockey style mask has really helped out the modern day catcher. And what they say is that some of those blows become glancing blows instead of right at the center of where that mask is. Easy to say from here, though. Here's an 0-1 pitch to Holliday. Inside. Holliday is 0 for 2, pair of groundouts. We're in the home half of the 5th in a 3-3 game. If you just joined us, Adam Wainwright with a 3-run homer. He tied it up. And a high fly ball lifted down the right field line. Borges over, out of play. Well, the Cardinals have had a number of 3-run homers, and a number of those have come from guys off the bench late in games. Look at that compared to just a year ago.
Oh, it's amazing the start we're off to, and I mean everyone was hoping we'd have increased production, you know, from our pinch hitters. We've gotten that with 7 pinch hit home runs.
Here's a 1-2 on the inside corner, and again, it's that portion of the plate that a lot of the hitters are questioning the strike zone of Mike DeMuro. Fox Sports Midwest proud to support the annual Jim Butler Charity Golf Classic June 20th, benefiting the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater St. Louis. Proceeds from the tourney help teach our kids how to live healthy and productive lives. For more information on how to participate as a golfer or get involved, go to bgcstl.org/golf. Fourth strikeout for Hellickson. And now Moss looks at a fastball right down the middle. 1 ball, 1 strike. He's 0 for 2, 2 groundouts, as the Phillies have the shift on for Moss.
You know, at those 36 home runs, I think 23 of them are from players like Moss and Hazelbaker, Jerko, and Diaz that, you know, weren't with the ball club a year ago. Moss did come at the trade deadline last year.
2-1 pitch. You know, Adams has not been reluctant to drop down a bunt, and Moss now with 2 strikes won't, but we haven't seen against the shift Brandon Moss, even in spring training, try to drop down those bunts. Matt did that earlier tonight, strikeout number 5.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and from the very first time we saw Moss, you know, the shift has always been there. You know, I mean it.
Yeah.
Well, we really knew much
too.
about him either.
Yeah.
And he's hit into it a few times too.
By the way, we had a promo that we read earlier in the game about Krispy Kreme, great sponsor of Cardinals baseball. That deal that we have, the Krispy Kreme dozen deal, is tomorrow. It is not tonight. So, you know what? We'll read it again tomorrow. So all the Krispy Kreme dealers who hopped out of their lazy boys and said, Dan, what are you talking about? And racing down to Busch Stadium, you can now turn around, go relax. We'll read it again tomorrow. As Molina rounds it too short, taken there by Galvis, and a 1-2-3 for Hellickson. We head to the 6th. We're tied up in game 1. The Phils, the Cardinals, 3-3. the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Fox Sports Midwest has you covered. Make sure you check it out. The post-game interviews and all the analysis with the guys that know the Blues the most in the second round. Missouri Lottery Blues Live post-game following Cardinals baseball. You know, Al, our minds wander sometimes, right? I mean, we're up here. We get, 3.5 hours. I was just thinking about something. Phillies here in town. I've got a speaker series with Whitey coming up.
Right.
And that's in 2 weeks from tonight. Off night for the club. I guess I can give a gratuitous plug. Cardinals.com/Whitey to get your
this
seats.
one correct.
Yeah, that one is right. Cardinals.com/Whitey. But in that speaker series, there's a breaking ball taken for a strike. We've had a bunch of them, and we had Tony La Russa with the Phillies in town. I was thinking about this the other day. He said something I had never heard before, but he was on his way down to the ballpark, and the Cardinals were in that division series in 2011. And he said he was coming down to the ballpark and was ready to tell David Freese, "You're out of the lineup. You're done. You're not producing. We need a guy that's going to produce." And it was Mark McGwire who told David Freese and Tony La Russa, "You will be in the lineup." And Mark had detected something with his swing about being on his front foot. And he told Tony, whatever you do, don't take him out of the lineup. Give him one more game. This pitch is popped up by Franco for the first out. And that night against Roy Oswalt, he hit a home run. But think about how close he was, Tony La Russa, to sitting David Freese. And we may never have seen a championship or a hometown hero produce an MVP in the championship series and in the World Series.
Well, just think what he did. What he did in the dramatic Game 6, right?
Go Blues.
Well, if it had been true to form, the way things were going, earlier in that season, he would have been taken out of the game for defense.
Right. Daniel Descalso would come in for David Freese. And a curveball drops in for a strike to Ryan Howard.
It's funny how things work out that way, and and the thought process behind certain reasons why he's there or why he wasn't there. But it all worked out that year for St. Louis and David Freese and Tony La Russa.
And as Tony always says, he's got a story, and he always goes, and there's a PS to this. And he said the PS was that Alan Craig was in the room watching video with McGwire and David Freese and picked up that he himself was not doing the same thing on his front foot. And so he's really getting jammed a lot. And so, of course, Alan Craig hits a couple of home runs in the World Series, too.
Now he's sitting in Ballpark Village, Alan Craig.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. A little late with that swing. Howard is lined out to left, also fly to center. Comes in with 28 strikeouts this year.
I was talking with the coaching staff of the Philadelphia Phillies, and we're just talking about all the strikeouts from not just Ryan Howard or the Cardinals. It's all throughout baseball. It's just historic numbers of striking out.
Number 29 for Ryan Howard. A 3-3 game here in the top of the 6th. And you go back to that rotation, which was set up for a championship for the Phillies. Halladay, Hamels, Cliff Lee, Roy Oswalt, and Vance Worley. They were featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated that year. How things have changed.
And people were talking about how great that staff was, and then this year they got 3 rookies in the rotation for Philadelphia, and they're almost equal numbers in the month of April. And how about Velasquez? He got off to 6 shutout innings, I think 9 strikeouts. I think there was, anyway, his first 2 starts he had 15 shutout innings and 25 strikeouts, and he came from the trade from Houston.
And the Cardinals will.
Giles,
yeah,
went to Houston, be their closer, and he's off to a slow start. And Velasquez is doing, it's very, very impressive.
Cardinals miss him in this series. The 1-2 pitch Driven into left center field. That ball will get down. It is cut off by Piscotty with a backhand. A throw into second base is not in time. Carlos Ruiz is 2 for 3.
I sure like the way Piscotty went over there and hustled, got that ball, and fired it back in right on the money. Now you come here and everything, and you see plants his foot, sets up, and throws it there, strong, accurate, and just that is close. Making a great play.
You mentioned the strikeouts are up, so are home runs after the first month of the season, not just here in St. Louis, but across Major League Baseball by a great clip compared to a year ago. Here's Hernandez, and that's strike one.
And of course, once again, you start hearing comments, the ball's harder, something's happened to it.
Count me in that group.
Yeah.
After watching the series in Arizona, that ball was flying out of that ballpark, which you expect with the roof open, but there's some hard hit balls.
It's not the same baseball that I pitched with. It's much, you know, it just seems like it's tighter. The seams are much tighter. It feels much harder.
And Al, they throw the ball out when it hits the dirt.
Yeah,
You're dealing with a new ball every time.
I mean, catcher's supposed to help their pitcher, and they, you know, they throw the ball out. Say, oh, the guy fouled it off. You're gonna need a new ball.
1-2 the count.
I mean, there were times where hitters would probably ask if the ball's too dirty, and they'd say, your problem, throw it. But the ball would get hit so many times that you would take a guy like Bob Boris, who was a seam ripper. You know, he wanted the seams high because he was a breaking ball pitcher, so he would rip at those seams, and there are times in games the ball would be hit and the seams would come off. You know, it would break loose.
2-2, a cutter in on the hands of Hernandez, who's 0 for 2 tonight. He breaks his bat.
But you know, you go out there as a pitcher, start the inning, and you picked up the ball.
Sure.
You know, rarely was, you know, but the ball was still in play.
Well, after we see this ground ball out, or strikeout, or fly out, that baseball will be flipped into the stands.
Yeah.
I'm going with the ground ball. The 2-2 pitch.
Strikeout.
Either way, let's get it out.
Of course, back then it was a little different, and you know, if you were flipping balls in the stands, somebody would be charting that and finding you.
Here's a 3-2. And a fly ball into right center, calling for it Moss. He has it, and the Phillies strand a man at second base. Coming up for the Cardinals, Adams, Diaz, and Wong. We're tied up. It's 3-3. That's May 19th here at the ballpark, and with the purchase of a special theme ticket, fans receive a special edition Cardinals scrub top. Get your Nurses Night tickets now at cardinals.com/theme. Fans enjoying the UMB Champions Club. Yeah, here you are. Yep. How about a wave? Huh? Wave. Thank you. We're live. As Adams hits it out to deep left center field. This ball is gone. Cardinals their second home run of the night. Adams starting to turn it out. And the Cardinals have their first lead. It's 4-3 St. Louis.
Third home run of the year for Matt Adams. He's got a nice night going. Been on base all 3 times. A walk, 2 scored, 2 runs scored. He's 2 for 2 in this game, and he's always hit well against the Phillies. He's pushing 400 now when he's facing the Philadelphia. And that is, Hellickson has always been prone to a lot of home runs, so
it's a 6th he's allowed this year. And Adams showing the power the other way here in the last couple of weeks.
I think that's most important. You know, he dropped down a bunt for the first time for a base hit, then he hit another one to the left center.
Diaz down that left field line. It is gone just to the left of Big Macland. Back to back. Home run number 5 for Aledmys Diaz.
He's been something, hasn't he?
It starts with Adams and a hanging breaking ball.
Yeah, breaking ball out there left center. His 3rd home run of the year. And then Diaz puts a punctuation mark on it as he jumps on this one and hit it a ton. His 5th home run, 14th RBI, and look at the, as you said, just left of Big Macland. What a row or 2 deep. It's amazing how the ball travels off of his bat.
14 of his 31 hits for Diaz have gone for extra bases. And quickly, one of the 2 lefties that they have in their pen starts to throw.
Oh, is in the Cardinal bullpen.
That's Brett Oberholzer getting loose in the pen for the Phillies. And he's had to get up quickly after back-to-back home runs. Second time this year the Cardinals have gone back-to-back. One thing that Wong is doing a little bit differently is you see the bat that rests on the shoulder. And the idea is to raise the hands ever so slightly, resting on the shoulder, and it's a trigger mechanism for him. Takes that pitch a little low.
And before we'd have the bat straight up, but it just looked like a statue and didn't look comfortable at all. So by resting on the shoulder, you know, then he'll come to the trigger mechanism, but he doesn't hold it straight up. You tighten up.
A 3-1 pitch to Wong. Wong yanks it foul. He was ready for that pitch. It's now 3-2. 3 home runs in this game. Cardinals were down 3-0. Wainwright a 2-out 3-run homer in the 4th, and back-to-back solo shots here in inning number 6. And Wong shoots it into left center field, but backing up and making the catch is Herrera. That's out number one. That's 3 hard hit balls to start the bottom of the 6th.
Grichuk's going to hit for the hitting star of the game, Adam Wainwright.
You like this, Al, because you've got now Wainwright with a lead, and he settled in after a tough 3rd inning for him.
I do. You know, you got your Broxton, Seagrass, Rosenthal combination to come out of this game, but you know, you sit there right now and make sure it's just a positive experience for Adam.
Grichuk, base hit into right. The ball gets away, and Grichuk at second base, hustling right out of the box.
You don't see a lot of shifts with right-handed batters, but here's you see one, and right through the vacated second base area, but it was hit hard. Borges boots it, and because, as you said, Grichuk running hard. If you want to double, you got to leave the batter's box thinking too. And it goes hard around there. He saw the bobble, and with his speed, he comes into second. And that knocked out Hellickson. So Oberholzer the lefty will be coming in. The Cardinals have the lead. So Chevy called to the bullpen. Offensively, and we were a little concerned coming in when last year they only scored 4 runs per game, but this year the runs are up 5.7. Home runs obviously have been a dramatic change. Yeah, strikeouts are there, but you know, right now we're scoring runs, and that's how you win ball games. The home run, an insurance run, was 4-3 after the home run by Matt Adams, and Diaz hits another home run to make it 5-3. We've knocked Hellickson out as the starter, and Brett Oberholzer will come in here. Oberholzer came over with Vicente Velasquez in the Ken Giles trade with Houston of a double switch.
It's Emmanuel Burris. And now the lefty in to face Carpenter, who's walked a couple of times and also struck out.
Oberholzer is 26 years of age, came from Houston in that deal.
Al, very nice job throwing it to break and taking it back from the commercial break here at the UMB Champions Club. The bathrooms aren't as close as they are to our booth behind home plate.
I thought you were signing autographs.
Usually that's the case.
Yeah, I know it is. You know.
But tonight a little different story. 5-3 Cardinals. Here in the bottom of the 6th. Once again, those games for the UMB Champions Club, the 8th, 9th, and 10th of August against Cincinnati. Cardinals.com and find those dates. Specially priced ticket. One ball, one strike on Carpenter. And Carpenter hits a fly ball down the left field line and out of play. Oberholzer into the ball game. It's a look at our Hyundai pitch arsenal. Fastball, changeup, and he throws the knuckle curve.
Made his major league debut with Houston. That was back in 2013. Been a starter throughout his time when he was in the Houston organization. Finds himself in the bullpen now.
Fastball misses.
Wasn't paying attention to your broadcast or there in the bullpen, seeing working that outside part of the plate where it's a 50-50 where there's going to be a ball or strike.
You agree with that? I mean,
Yeah.
It's been inconsistent.
It really has.
Good speed at second base in Randall Grichuk. Only one out and a 2-2 pitch. And Carpenter hits a fly ball out to center. Herrera backs up to make the catch. Grichuk to the bag at second. There's two down. Piscotty is 0 for 3. He's grounded out to third. Twice he has flied out to center. The Cardinals with 3 more home runs here tonight. And now up to 38 this year. That's ripped out to left field and a base hit. Grichuk being waved in. He will score, and Piscotty a 2-out base hit, and it's 6-3 Cardinals. So the misplay in right by Borges cost the Philadelphia Phillies.
Borges, we know defensively, really cost him. You see a rainbow, and Piscotty knocks in his roommate. As Grichuk with that good speed takes off, and he scores easily.
And here is Holiday, who is hitless tonight. And a check on Piscotty, who has 1 stolen base this year. Here's an 0-1 pitch. Holiday. Base hit into right. Piscotty will head to third. No, he won't. He thought about it. It was misplayed again by Peter Borges in right field.
What's going on with Peter out there? Ball hard out here. Sometimes where it hits those grooves where they mow in different directions to get the color change in the outfield, sometimes it'll create a snaking sensation. He tried to barehand it, misses it, but no further advancement by Piscotty.
So here is Brandon Moss, and Moss hits a foul ball. If you're wondering, the arch currently is not cut into the grass. They will do that periodically throughout the year. Bill Finley, who is the head groundskeeper here at the ballpark, says when it's not cut in, he hears about it all the time from fans. They love seeing the arch cut in the grass, which was first cut in the grass in the All-Star game of 2009, and then they kept it.
They also had the old courthouse.
That was in there too.
Inside too, yeah.
And how they do that is by direction. So
right. With the grain and against the grain of the grass.
One's coming towards home plate, the other going out. 0-2 the count on Brandon Moss. He's hitless tonight. 2 groundouts and a strikeout. Ooh, and Brandon may have gotten away with that one. 1-2.
Where was it? Outside, right? The questionable zone.
They'll look down the middle and maybe low. Let's see if he makes him pay. Here's a 1-2. And there it is on the outside corner. Moss didn't like it. He'll be with us tomorrow night. That's Jeff Suppan. And right now he's enjoying the offense of the St. Louis Cardinals. For the Philadelphia Phillies. And O has been terrific so far this year. His 14th appearance. ERA is under 2. Randall Grichuk will stay into the ball game and play center field. Brandon Moss is in left, and the Cardinals have Stephen Piscotty shifting from center to right. Well, I mentioned Jeff Suppan is here. He's in the truck with our guys, and Sup will be with us tomorrow for an inning. And we'll have a chance to visit with the National League Championship Series MVP of 2006, and what a big game pitcher he proved to be.
Boy, he was. You know, when we get into postseason, he really stepped up, and several of those years he was the most important pitcher, most consistent.
Innings, wins.
Just reliable.
Very reliable. Here's David Lowe. He'll lead it off. He is 0 for 1 tonight. And a fastball is taken for a strike. I've noticed Molina has sensed what we are sensing here, which is that outside portion of the plate to lefties. And a guy like O with very good control can pound that portion of the strike zone.
Now that one came across the plate a little bit more than what Yachty wanted, but the point being what you're saying, take advantage of an umpire strike zone. If it's generous out there, it's a good place to pitch, and you'll keep it in the ballpark too.
That's fouled back, and with his control,
yes,
this is the perfect type of guy to have out there and get that outside portion of the plate.
Of course, the Phillies getting their first look at O, and that advantage always goes to the pitcher. He's been nothing but sensational.
0-1 pitch.
Right there. Didn't get the call, but if you consistently hit that spot, you'll entice the umpire into saying, convincing himself that that is a strike.
This time they'll go in on 1 and 2. On a hop, taken at second base by Wong, 1 away. Well, Cardinal fans, next time you want to grab Cardinal seats, get the StubHub app. Not only will you find seats you'll love whenever you want, you can find the best seat for your buck when you sort by the best value. So get the StubHub app today. The UMB Champions Club here tonight, our annual telecast. Folks enjoying the big screens in NHL, NBA playoffs, and baseball here at the ballpark. That's slapped foul and out of play. So Adam Wainwright here tonight gives up 5 hits, 3 runs in his 6 innings of work, and has a chance to win his 2nd in a row.
Saw Burris with the Giants the last couple of years.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. And a ground ball. Backhanded by Wong. Settles. Makes the play. Hey, it's back, Cardinals fans. The refreshing taste of the frozen strawberry lemonade. It's available all summer long. And it's only at McDonald's. We had a couple of balls just to the left of Big Mac land. Home runs hit by Adam Wainwright. A 3-run shot. And then Aledmys Diaz and Matt Adams went back to back. Well, you started talking about early Aledmys Diaz. I asked you what's impressed you. What do you notice? How hard he hits the ball. And
yeah,
he showed us again tonight.
One of the nicest guys we've met the last couple of years is Peter Borges. Picked up on waivers by the Phillies and had a chance to play over there, and he wasn't going to get much playing time here, so good move for Peter. And now that he's married too, right?
Married with a young child as Borges sends a fly ball into center field. Good work by O. What do you say we stretch? Catch made by Grichuk. Cardinals lead at 6-3 as we head to the bottom of the 7th. Yellowwood bringing the lumber. 3 home runs hit by the Cardinals tonight. Wainwright, Adams, Diaz. This is the bottom of the 7th, and it's 6-3 St. Louis. Yadier Molina will lead it off. This is the Gateway Honda home run inning. If a Cardinals player hits a home run, the Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Oberholzer, his 2nd inning of work. And the first pitch taken for a strike by Molina. Singleton scored in the 4th. Twice has grounded out to short. Left from that 2006 team of the St. Louis Cardinals, Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright, the battery for tonight.
We just showed a picture of John Mabry, and Oberholzer is from Delaware also. Not too many, are there?
You have to think that these two have run across each other at some point with maybe youth baseball in that area. Those that have made it to the professional ranks, few and far between. 1-2 pitch. Chris Carpenter from New Hampshire up east. Not many have made it from that area as well. Congratulations to Carp, headed to the Cardinals Hall of Fame. So well deserved.
Definitely. All the candidates are well deserved.
Molina yanks it foul past Chris Maloney.
And you'd have to believe all those other guys will get there eventually.
And the 1-2 pitch inside to Molina.
Did you see that, Danny?
I did.
Got it back in the Marine Corps, Give me 10.
The 2-2. Well, he should do a push-up every time. It's a base hit into left center for Yadier Molina and a 2-hit night.
Carlos thinks that funny. See, Ryan's trying not to laugh with the glove up to protect.
Crowd tonight of 40,438, 40438. Here's Adams. He's had a big night. Couple of runs scored, 2 hits, home run to go along with a walk. The check on Molina, who maybe has a half-step lead.
No, I think he had his foot on the base. But there's always a chance.
With him, though, there really is.
Yeah, and he'll catch you sleeping.
Delayed steal. And a strike to Adams. Cardinals have Kevin Segras getting loose in the pen. He's off to a very good start here in 2016. That's hit out of play just below us. No balls and 2 strikes. Cubbies win again, 7-2. They beat Pittsburgh. Realizing it is early, but we talked about it before with Chicago already up 6 games and the Cardinals now 2.5 back of Pittsburgh as they elevate that pitch and a strikeout of Adams. But you win your games here in this series, you're going to pick up a game either on Pittsburgh or Chicago.
Right. And there you see, go elevate the top of the strike zone, a punch out, second strikeout for pitcher.
Ledmus Diaz a home run back in the 6th.
408 average. Look at his OPS.
You know, every month we get those packets that say Rookie of the Month, Pitcher of the Month, Player of the Month. Well, to me, he's the Rookie of the Month, although Trevor Story may get it because of the home runs. And apparently he has gotten it, but you'd have to look at him for Player of the Month, too.
Exactly.
At one point, he woke up. He was #1 in average, on-base percentage, and slugging
percentage.
That was just a couple of days ago.
And then he had that little tailspin at the end of the month, and you know, Harper's numbers all of a sudden became a little more special. But you're right. Going into that final weekend, I think he was there.
2-1 is pulled sharply to third. Out at second, on to first, not in time. Jake Arrieta was the Pitcher of the Month.
How did that happen?
Its story is the Rookie of the Month and Bryce Harper the Player of the Month in the National League. Here's Colton Wong, who lined out to center and has struck out twice.
Concentrating on what you did that last time up, because he hit that ball very hard.
This is a bullpen that during this winning streak coming into play tonight for the Phillies, 1 run in their last 19 innings pitched. 1.
And they did not really have a defined closer, you know, at the start of the season. And then because they started using Genmar Gomez and some of the other guys, well, all of a sudden then they had to give those guys rest. Other guys got opportunities, and everyone been doing the job.
The 1-0 pitch. We've talked an awful lot about how Wong will carry at bats into the field, errors in the field to the plate. He's also fresh off of inking a 5-year, $25 million contract extension. You wonder if he's put a little pressure on himself because of that deal. You know, it's human nature. Wouldn't be surprising.
Well, sure. And then you all of a sudden in your mind you play these mental games, you know, and you feel like, well, I got to do something spectacular to justify it. And all the club's trying to do is just do what you've been doing. Just show your immense potential.
And Wong hits a fly ball down the right field line. It's well hit with a carry. Gone! His first extra base hit of the year. A 2-run homer. Colton Wong. 4 home runs hit by the Cardinals tonight.
Talk about 4 home runs, but how about by the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th place hitters have hit home runs? How unlikely is that? And that's going to be a good shower for Colton Wong. Finally.
Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation thanks to Colton Wong. Here's Grichuk. Fans having some fun here tonight. A 2-out, 2-run homer as Grichuk pops it foul and out of play. 4 home runs hit by St. Louis tonight.
And it's off a left-hander too. Is a little breaking ball, doesn't slide too much. Good swing. You know, he's got that short compact stroke. When he hits it, it could go too. Got a little pop.
Just imagine this, you know, this lineup now with an Adams who's starting to swing the bat well, and Wong, and get Grichuk going. It'd be scary. They've already put up big numbers. Cardinals with a lead of 8-3. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And Grichuk hits it out to deep left center field. How about 5? 5 home runs hit by the Cardinals tonight. This one a solo shot. Grichuk, his 2nd hit of the night. Maybe he starts to come alive.
They felt he was getting closer and closer, just corrected a little mechanical aspect to his swing, and it's paid off with 2 hits tonight, including this big home run. But he is so strong, and the ball just jumps off his bat. A great illustration of it with that swing. And maybe he needs to work on his dance routine.
The second time the Cardinals have gone back-to-back in this game. It happened in the 6th. Solo home runs with Adams and Diaz, and now here in the 7th, a 2-run shot by Wong and a solo home run by Randall Grichuk. Here's Carpenter. Randall Grichuk just helped the Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Keep it going, guys. Let's watch this ball just charge. Didn't have the great height to it, so until he got around first base, he saw that it went out, and then the easy trot around.
And it's a 9-3 St. Louis lead.
This club is just hard to figure, isn't it? You know, it comes out there some days and you just a ton of strikeouts, and other days they just hit rockets and hit them far.
The 2-2. Carpenter puts it in play. It's hit to short. Some excited fans here in the ballpark, and why not? 5 home runs in this game. That one a 2-run shot. Then Grichuk, a solo home run, and for Wong, a sense of relief. His first home run. Woo! First extra base hit of 2016. A 6-run lead for the Birds. UMB Champions Club here at the ballpark, and Wong and Grichuk go back-to-back. A sense of relief, no doubt, for Colton Wong. A lot of good things happening in this game. Adam Wainwright, 3-run homer, has a chance to pick up his 2nd win. Chevy called to the pen as Kevin Segrist. I thought maybe the Cardinals would sit him down. He did pitch yesterday. Now with a 6-run lead, he is one of those integral parts of the bullpen, and chance to maybe give him a little rest. And granted, he did warm up, so here he is in the game.
And it's one of those situations. Tejada goes into third base, so he'll be in coming up next inning. But you really don't want Segrist out there long because he's one of your primary guys. It made sense to use O, but now with the big lead, you know, maybe you could have gone to one of the other guys and saved Seagrass, so you aren't going to be in a situation where you're pitching him 3, 4, possibly even 5, 6 days in a row.
So the top of the lineup, and the first pitch is a base hit. Aledmys Diaz with another home run here tonight. That's number 5. Who would have thought that Diaz, first week of May, not only would have 5 home runs, but only 5 strikeouts?
Yeah, quite a testament. Here you see the ball down and away, and good piece of hitting.
The second hit on the night for Herrera.
He's always a threat to steal.
There's Galvis. Freddie Galvis, base hit back in the 3rd. That came with the bases loaded. This might be the kind of game that if it stays a 6-run lead, you get Seth Maness in and get him some work. You're trying to find the right spots, you know, to get him right.
And, you know, I mean, thinking once again, you know, with Seagrass, and sure, you get a guy up, you know, a lot of times managers say, well, I'm going to make sure you come in. But trust me, you would understand with a 6-run lead, you had the lead like that, why you would go sit down. And I think Seth, the best thing you could have for him is to pitch a couple innings and get himself out there and get him right, because he'll be a big part of our ball club. But he's got to get right.
(9-3) St. Louis. Look at Seth Maness there and Blaze Ilsley on the right. Bullpen coach for the Cardinals. Taken just a bit high. And the count runs to 3-1. Cardinals have not turned a double play here this evening. On the 3-1, it is popped up on the infield. Adams wants it. Wong gets out of the way, and I don't blame him. Join us for Academy Sports and Outdoors Autograph Nights. The first of 6 autograph nights, Friday, May 6th. 2 current Cardinals will sign autographs in the Ford Plaza for fans 15 and under. Former Cardinals Danny Cox, Tom Lawless will sign for fans of all ages. For details, visit cardinals.com/promotions. 1 out, man at first, and here's Michael Franco. We're on the air tomorrow at 6:30 for game 2 of this 4-game set. Strike 1.
Kid's got great power. Looks like he's going to be a really good defensive third baseman also. And you mentioned it earlier in the telecast, maybe catching him at the right time. He's 23 years of age. Herrera, who's on first base, 24. And, you know, just an indication a couple of their real good keepers are going to be part of this ball club. The farm system of Phillies is pretty deep too, especially at the top levels.
0-2 pitch, changeup taken low.
They'll get the first pick in the draft this year. It's the second time they've ever had that. The other time they picked Pat Burrell. Had a nice major league career. They're looking maybe at 2017 as the earliest when they're going to be a pretty good ball club again.
1-2 pitch. Driven out to left center, and the catch made by Randall Grichuk. Back to the bag at first goes Herrera. Plaza Tires Fox Tracks. Let's take a look. You know, at the time, Cardinals were reeling. when you think about the home run hit by Wainwright. You know, until that time, they just weren't generating a lot of offense. Club is coming off a sweep in the hands of Washington. It winds up being a huge hit, clearly, in this game. Obviously, it's a 3-run homer, but with everything that was going on, it just came at the right time.
And Howard gets to stay in there against Segrist.
Howard is lined out to left. He's flied to center and also struck out. There's that curveball from Kevin Segrist. Molina couldn't keep it in front as it scoots away. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, it gives him an opportunity to work on that curveball. Segrist, you know, is just a dynamite setup man, but he has trouble with left-handed batters. So he's worked very hard on coming up with a curveball. He's got a great changeup that works very well with his overpowering fastball to right-handed batters, but he lacked that good secondary pitch for a left-handed batter, and he's worked hard on the curveball. But it's a little different throwing it in spring training than throwing it in game.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Howard. Fastball and a strike at 92. Saw it a lot in spring training as he continued to work on it. And that's the time, once you're established, you want to do it.
Sure, but you know, you get your adrenaline flowing in the game and the regular season a little bit different. But you know, this is where you take advantage of having the big lead, the 6-run lead. You can work on this.
Five home runs hit by the Cardinals tonight.
Doesn't happen very often either.
Howard a swing and a miss, and Segrist picks up the strikeout. We are midway through 8, and here's that home run. If you just joined us back in the 3rd, Cardinals down by 3. Wainwright, a no-doubter. The question was, would it stay fair? It did. Cardinals are rolling here in game number 1. Brought to you by Bud Light. Raise 1-2 right now. By your local Volkswagen dealer. And by Steel Outdoor Power Equipment. Quality, reliability, and value. Find a servicing Steel dealer at steeldealers.com or search STIHL. It's a live look at the UMB Champions Club here at the ballpark. And again, those tickets available tonight, specially priced. August 8th, 9th, and 10th. For the UMB Champions Club when the Cardinals take on the Reds in August. Here's Stephen Piscotty. Piscotty pulls it foul. A lot of extra work with the men and women of our crew to set this up over here in the Champions Club. We appreciate their efforts. There's a line shot into left center field and a base hit for Piscotty. He's thinking 2 out of the box, and he is saved.
The throw would have had him more if Burris would have held on to that ball, but you see how hard he's running out of the box. That's what you got to do when you're trying to get 2. You can't lollygag around. Burris couldn't hold on to it. Good throw, he would have been out, or say a good catch. It was a good throw. But I love to see that hustle, especially when you're ahead by 6. You know, just it's not a time to slow down. Just put the pedal to the metal. This is Tejada.
And a strike at the knees. Cardinals offense, think about this, the previous 39 innings had 6 runs. The last 4 they've scored 9 runs. There's a little cutie.
Good laugh.
As Tejada hits a fly ball out to right field, Piscotty will draw a throw. Matter of fact, he's going to tag up.
Did what he should have done. Ball deep enough. One thing that you don't like to see is if you're going to take that base, it's usually just smart just to commit to a slide. Don't be caught in between, because you do little things like that, and after that he started flexing his leg a little bit. If you think you need to slide, go ahead and slide, even if there's not a throw. You won't hurt yourself.
So runner at third with 1 out, and it brings in Brandon Moss, and the infield is drawn in with the Cardinals leading 9-3. Ground ball, base hit. 10-3 Cardinals on an RBI single to right field by Brandon Moss to score Stephen Piscotty. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. In brings Yadier Molina. Molina, little check swing. I know he feels cheated. There's 2 outs.
Last time he hit a ball off the ground like that and bounced high and then went into center field for a base hit. This time he is upset with a check swing.
Six is a serious number. Get any size coffee, fountain, or frozen drink tomorrow for just 50 cents at your local On the Run. And use the On the Run app to find your nearest store. On the Run, you earned it.
Seth Maness will get the 9th inning to get himself straightened out. I wonder why Fryer didn't hit for Yadier in that situation.
Here's Adams, who is homered here tonight. So in this lineup, the Cardinals 6, 7, 8, and 9 positions in the lineup, and Al said this earlier, all have homered. Rarely, if ever, do you see that.
And 2 home runs in the 9 hole now.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. 2 balls and no strikes. Backhanded at second base. That will retire Matt Adams. Seth Maness coming on when we come back. May 7th of 2012 at Arizona. Beltran and Holiday, then Alan Craig and David Freese. We've seen that tonight as Manus is in to pitch the ninth. Yadier Molina stays in the game. He's at first base. Eric Fryer is behind the plate. And you never know when you come to the ballpark. We always say it. You may see something you've never seen before, and that's the case here tonight for the Cardinals. In 100+ years of baseball here in St. Louis, and there's a base hit to left. It has never happened. Home runs in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th spot in the lineup. We wondered it. You said rarely, if ever. Well, this is the first time ever.
Fryer, Chevy called the bullpen, brings in Seth Manus. Fryer is back behind the plate, and so Yachty moves to first base. In case something were to happen, you still got a catcher. And that's why Mike didn't pinch hit for Yachty.
Here's Darren Ruff. Pinch hitter here in the 9th inning. Cardinals leading by 7.
It's part of their platoon at first base with Howard. Ruff. He's actually had to play some left field also this year because of it.
Yeah, the Cardinals, by the way, Al, have talked about with Seth Manus living on the corners. Doesn't have overpowering stuff. So if they're going to be getting him right, and he's going to get himself right, it's got to be pitches not over the middle of the plate. Where other guys, when they throw harder, the velocity is there. At times you can get away with it. Manus cannot. He's got to live on the corners.
And when he's right, you know, he comes into this situation and throws a ground ball double play. Keeps the ball down there, you know, that's what they're going to do. They're going to pound at the dirt. But when his ball gets up in the zone, it doesn't have the octane to throw it by someone and becomes very, very hittable. But when he's on the corners or using that changeup down, he gets ground ball after ground ball and is extremely effective. There's no way the Cardinals would reach postseason the last several years without his contribution, because he's been absolutely one of the best at getting ground ball double plays in all of baseball.
3 balls, 2 strikes, and there's a strikeout of Ruff.
What's he looking for?
One away in this 10-3 game, and we take a look at our Budweiser player of the game, Adam Wainwright. Doing it both on the mound and at the plate. 3-run homer, his 7th career home run. That happened in the 4th inning, and that tied the game up at 3-3.
Think about his 6 innings of work is just really the three-run 3rd inning, which has kind of been a problem for the staff. Just having one bad inning per start by the starters. But Adam, thank you to his 3-run home run, got himself tied, and then his offense took over for him.
0-2 the count.
There's a change up there that is such a good pitch for Seth. But the sinking fastball is the one we want to see consistently.
0-2 pitch, and it's popped up into shallow center. Diaz going out. Grichuk coming in with a sliding catch. Replace your divot.
You were just hoping there'd be communication there, but you see that Diaz really pulled up, and then with the sort of slide, you know, he's lucky he held on to that ball. But
ground ball fair inside the 3rd base line. Over to cut it off, it's Moss. Thrown to second base, not in time, and it's a double for Emmanuel Burris. So 2 outs and 2 on. And you do want to see Manus come away with a scoreless 9th.
Yeah, just something to build off it. Ball up just a little bit, and a piece of hitting just slaps down on it, just inside the bag. For Brewers, the double. He was with those championship clubs a couple years with Giants.
On 1 the count on Peter Borges. Runners at second and third. The Cardinals trying to finish this off and snap their losing skid at 4 games.
Streaks follow streaks, Danny. Let's not go on a big winning tear.
And Philadelphia on the verge, 1 strike away of having their 6-game winning streak snapped here tonight. Guy in the Blues jersey behind home plate turned into Frank the Tank before that last pitch. And now he's been giving signs. And a ground ball slowly hit. Carpenter to first, and the losing skid is over. Cardinals hold on for the 10-3 victory behind 5 home runs hit here tonight.
A lot of fun on the field, a lot of fun in the Champions Club, the UMB Champions Club. Got to see old friends, new friends, and a Cardinal victory. Let's go on a winning streak.
So the Cardinals, first time in franchise history with a home run from the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th spot in the lineup. It's on to the postgame show. Rick Horton, Scott Warman are standing by. Wong, his first extra base hit, and a sense of relief. 10-3 the final tonight.